Okay, so Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is supposed to be coming out this upcoming month in May, and it's supposed to be the sequel to the Breath of the Wild game that came out back in 2017, as everybody knows. And I just took a look at the gameplay, I guess, trailer that Nintendo Life had released not too long ago. And honestly, I was impressed by everything that I saw. For the most part, it's probably one of the best Zelda games that I've ever seen in terms of visual design, in terms of looks, in terms of gameplay mechanics. And a lot of people were stoked about the fact that there were additional gameplay mechanics included in this game that basically wasn't in Breath of the Wild. Like in this game, you could basically fuse items and weapons to make stronger weapons. You can use like cars and boats and all types of stuff to travel, which is something I don't think was really a thing in any of the previous Zelda games. The amount of improvements in terms of gameplay with Tears of the Kingdom, I feel, is going to be the main thing that kind of distinguishes this title from Breath of the Wild. And honestly, in terms of sales, I'm not exactly sure whether or not this game is going to surpass Breath of the Wild in terms of sales, because I believe like when Breath of the Wild came out back in 2017, in less than 2 years, I believe it managed to reach like 10 million in terms of sales. And a lot of that was because the Switch console was brand new at the time. And along with the fact that, like, for the most part, it was one of the biggest games that Nintendo had released of the teens decade, alongside with Super Mario Odyssey. Now, as far as where Breath of the Wild is right now in terms of sales, I believe since its release back in March of 2017, Breath of the Wild has managed to reach 29 million, or at least 29 million copies in sales since its release. And keep in mind that it took place within a 6-year time period. So it's not like it's just something that happened like within like 2 or 3 years or what have you. It happened within 6 years, and I think the Switch console has been out just as long as basically the Breath of the Wild game has been out. And as far as Tears of the Kingdom is concerned, I'm pretty sure that Nintendo has high expectations for the game in terms of sales, and it could possibly reach 10 mil within like 2 years or what have you. But I could definitely see the game breaking 10 million at least, because this game is too big, too important. And in terms of gameplay, it feels like an expansion and an improvement upon what we got in Breath of the Wild. And honestly, I don't think that this game is going to be able to surpass the likes of, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which also came out back in 2017. And that's the best selling game for the Switch console right now, because I think since its release, it managed to reach 52 million copies worldwide on the Switch console. And I do feel that even though like Zelda is like really popular and all, I don't think it's going to be one of those. Like, this game is not going to be one of those titles that's going to end up being like the best selling game for the Switch console. I could definitely see Tears of the Kingdom possibly being in the top 10 in terms of sales, and quite possibly surpassing titles like Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I think did like roughly over 25 million in sales or something like that. But like to me, Tears of the Kingdom is to Breath of the Wild what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time back in the N64 era, mainly because like the tone of Tears of the Kingdom like seems darker than that of Breath of the Wild. And that was the same thing with Majora's Mask in comparison to Ocarina of Time. And a lot of people to this day will go on record and tell you that Ocarina of Time was the best Zelda game they ever made, but everybody has their own respective opinion. Tears of the Kingdom definitely has the potential to go down as one of the best Zelda games of all time, but we're just going to have to wait and see what the sales figures is going to look like within the next couple of years.